Recording in progress.
Perfect. We got 9 a.m. We're starting the Zoom off right. I got to use this cool little thing.
Easy on the furniture.
We'll call to order today's Truckee River Flood Management Authority Friday, November 14th meeting with a roll call.
All right, Donald Abbott.
Here.
Miguel Martinez.
Here.
Alexis Hill. Ed Lawson.
Here.
Naomi Dewar.
Here.
Clara Andriola.
Present.
You have a quorum.
Thank you very much. We'll go to Pledge of Allegiance. Oh, yes.
If I could just quickly read.
Sure, we'll do that.
Regarding the telephone number, those who wish to make public comment by telephone may do so by calling 1-253-215-8782 and using the access code 861-1853-2620. If you are unable to access the meeting with that number, please call Michael Wolz at 775-813-1662. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. How about Clara? Ms. Andriola, will you lead us today?
Sure.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'll go to item B, public comment. Do we have any public comment today?
Seeing none.
Anyone on Zoom? I don't see any hands. We'll close public comment and we'll go to item C, approval of the agenda for November 14th.
So moved.
We have a motion by Ms. Andriola, second by Ms. Stewart. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Item D, announcements and clippings. Mr. Robeson.
Thank you, Chair. I just have a few announcements. One is progress is continuing on the Wadsworth Bridge. However, the bridge manufacturer came back and said that they have to make the bridge heavier to handle the span and not collapse and that kind of thing. So there is going to be a small change order on the abutment, where the bridge sits on, to be able to handle that extra weight. I'm anticipating it's a small change order that will come probably in our next meeting, but they do have a design now for the bridge and things are progressing right on schedule on that thing. Secondly, we had last year we passed that we would fund the Riverside area. There's basically the trail and a small berm there. And they're going to actually lift that berm up a little bit so it will hold 14,000 CFS to meet a core requirement, which that is now the 50-year flow, but back in the day, they thought it was the 100-year flow. And that came in actually under the estimate, which is like good news for a change. The berm, the engineering estimate was 1.947 million and change. And the other estimate was a little over 1.1 million with 200,000 in contingency. So roughly in that 1.4 to 1.5 million range. So it's way under the estimate, which is really good news. Also, we continue to get a lot of interest. Our flood awareness or Know the Flow page was actually picked up by Channel 4. And there's been other feedback as well. We're also on Facebook, Instagram, X, and LinkedIn. We're pushing people to our website to, understand that that the Truckee River does flood, and if they are in a place where they're in trouble or could be in trouble, that they know where they stand, they know what they can do, and they can get more information from us if they need it. Finally, I'm sorry, there's so many announcements, but the gauging network is now that we have for our flood warning network has been updated. We've got new improved gauging on 7 to 8 gauges. They were the priority gauges that we talked with the River Forecast Center in Sacramento with the Weather Service. So these will be super accurate now. They're going to be far more accurate than they were in the past. And our system of getting the information is far more reliable. It's on a cell system. So, and we even put it out on a new system that the Weather Service is better able to pull data from. So we're trying to make it as easy as possible on the Weather Service so they can give us better forecasting. So that's all I have for announcements for today.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Dewar?
Yeah, thank you, George. I just have a quick question on the gauging. Two questions, I guess. So last night I saw a presentation by the new state climatologist. And I don't know, have you had a chance to meet him, Baker Perry? Dr.
I
Perry?
I haven't had lunch with him or
Well,
anything.
I would
I've been in some meetings with him.
Yeah, he's an amazing guy. He's worked all over the world and putting in these weather stations at the highest places in the world, okay, on like some of the highest peaks from Mount McKinley to you name it. Anyway, that's just a recommendation that, you know, and he is relying on these stations as well, you know, and I was going to ask you, how many stations do we have now altogether, you know, in the network that the staff are monitoring?
What we did is we consolidated the stations that the River Forecast Center really said they needed from us. And so we're right at that base now, which is, it's 8 gauges.
So what I mean
But there's
is-
more coming in, actually.
Well,
we're
what I
gonna
mean is the
fix.
ones that are not on the river, you know, that feed to the river, you have the ones that are up.
They all feed to the river. These are met labs. They're met gauges, meteorology gauges. So they're doing rain and temperature. And in the past, our gauges didn't even do temperature. Now
Right.
they do temperature.
Right.
And so because rain on snow and all that, it's
Right.
really important to know that. So those gauges are all over the place. We have one at Galena. We
Right.
have, you know, they're.
Well, that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
So a lot of people rely on those gauges because
Yes.
they're spread out. I thought there was something like 35 gauges in the whole system. That's what I was asking.
We work with a lot of cooperators
Yeah.
and we have a contract with USGS to do
Right.
mostly river gauging, but they do some of our Met gauges and those
Okay.
are not included in that list.
Right. Okay. Anyway, I'd recommend that you meet with Dr. Perry, probably sooner rather than later, given
Yeah.
what's in your flood awareness world. But then my other question was, I know the gauging on Steamboat Creek has been very problematic over the years. Are any of those gauges getting updated or are there more being added? Because that's the major tributary and I know it's downstream of the flooding that's, you know, downtown Reno Sparks, but it obviously contributes to downstream flooding. And so I just wondered if we're updating that.
Okay, a few years ago, the Steamboat Met gauge, the meteorology gauge, was actually taken out and put in the river. So we could see it in the river. It looked like a log in the river. So that got pulled out and fixed. And then we actually, since the USGS is already gauging the stream flow there, we gave that over to and are paying USGS to run that gauge. So it's on their network.
Yeah.
And we have been working really closely with them to make sure that that data is coming through clear. Because the really, really critical gauge there is Steamboat at Steamboat.
Right.
And so that gauge we've really focused on, we've spent
That's
a lot
awesome.
of time on. And
That's awesome.
Galena is also a very important gauge for Steamboat because it is unregulated water coming in, whereas the water off of Washoe Lake is regulated.
Right.
And there's actually a new gauge there, it's not ours, but there's a gauge there now too for coming off of Washoe Lake. And then there's also a gauge at Ophir Creek that BLM sponsors with USGS.
But we have access to all these through.
We have access to all that data, and the system that we're working on now has all that data in one place, including the data from the energy company, Nevada Energy. So we have, that thing has so many different gauges. Now, different gauges have different degrees of accuracy and different purposes. Like the NV Energy gauges are more about wind and things like that, and they're not going to be very good on rain on snow at all. Our gauges are based on, we wanted to understand rain on snow for flooding.
Yeah.
And we know rain amounts and rain on snow and that kind of thing.
All right, thanks.
Yep.
Thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Robeson? I don't see any. We'll close that. Thank you, sir, as always. Go to consent items. Looking for a motion for a 2A, 2B, and 2C. Or if anyone wants to pull one. Awesome. We have a motion by Ms. Andriola. Can we get a second? Second by Mr. Martinez. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Excuse me, passes unanimously. Item 3. So how much do I need to read?
Just as much as you want. Till you get bored.
I'll make sure it's a little poetic. Discussion and possible action to approve an 11th Amendment to the agreement for professional engineering services between Truckee River Flood Management Authority and Atkins Realist Group, Inc. of January 15, 2018 to take the design level of the Vista Narrows flood project element from 60% to 100% and prepare materials for construction, contract bidding. The maximum total contract amount is $1,851,404 over the term of 18 months. I'm going to stop there. Perfect.
Okay, and
Anderson.
I do have a PowerPoint on this. I want to explain why we're asking you to move to forward to final design for the record. And let's go ahead. Next slide, please. So everybody knows what what Vista Narrows is within the Meadows Flood Project. It's at the downstream end, and it has a very special role. Next slide, please. Vista Narrow needs to be first because it provides mitigation, lowers water levels to compensate for the loss of flood storage and the other projects like Rock McCarran, like the airport, like the Tumwa. We won't be storing water at the airport anymore. We won't be storing water in people's warehouses anymore. So there has to be a way to lower that water. And what Vista Narrows does is allows the water to get through there quicker so that the water level stays lower. It was originally thought to be part of the Corps' authorized project. And in many of the earlier documents with the Corps, it was part of the project. Then in their NED project, it wasn't part of the project, but we put it in the locally preferred plan. And then the Corps rejected the locally preferred plan. So TURFMA decided, and we actually started working on the design in 2018 when we were still with the Corps. We were still trying to work with the Corps on the plans and everything else. But after that rejection, we in turn, at first it was informal. We just stopped working with the Corps. Then later on in 2021, we officially rejected the NED plan, and we actually passed a resolution to go after deauthorization because of that. Because without Vista Narrows, the project doesn't work. It costs too much to do the mitigation in South Reno. Plus, it causes all kinds of problems in South Reno we can't mitigate. So it's politically and financially untenable. That plan doesn't work. So in late 2019, we decided to forge ahead without the Corps and get permits. And then in 2020, we went after 408 and 404 permits in May and June respectively. And since this time, TURFMA has been waiting for the permits before going to final design and initiating other design projects with the exception of the Rock McCarran design. Next slide, please. So the role that Vista plays is with Vista, this is like with Vista as per against the existing conditions. Things in green are actually lower water levels. So what Vista does is it lowers the water levels as compared to current conditions, not by very much, but it does. So with the whole project built, the water levels in those areas, like out by Hidden Valley, Miraloma, all that area, are lower than what they would have been otherwise with the whole project built. It's not much of a difference, but it is lower. So it creates a no-rise situation so that we're not making matters worse in those parts of town. Next slide, please. So the permitting, we started this in May and June of 2000, and all the way up to January of 2025, there was very little progress. Now, we did try to do things. We gave them a draft EA, things like that, but there just wasn't a lot of back and forth with the Corps during that time. Part of that was the Corps, their civil engineering works people, which these people work in the same building, they didn't like our project because of tribal concerns. So we really focused on reaching out to the Pyramid Lake Paiute tribe on the, because we're increasing the water somewhat downstream during the peak. And so we came up, and we all know this, everybody was here when this happened. We came up with the Mitigation Projects Agreement as of last year. Another problem was early in this process is they said that if we, as long as we're authorized, the NED plan is a core, what they call quote unquote core facility, and that any change to a core facility would have to have a very thorough review, and it would have to be done at a regional level and might take up to 10 years. So our immediate idea is to take out the levees and flood walls in the Sparks area that was part of Vista. And those really weren't a good idea anyways, because they would act like dams until the rest of the project was built and cause more flooding problems than they'd solve until the rest of the project was built. It should be built last. But in addition, it helped us go forward with the terracing, because the terracing was not part of the NED plan, so we could do that. And for future projects, though, we really did need to get deauthorized, because like Rock McCarran, there's a NED plan element that we're contradicting by the way we're designing it. So it will cause a problem. And now that in January of this year, we were deauthorized, so that's no longer an issue with that. They're not going to use the NED plan as a, and the conceptual drawings of the NED plan as a core facility. So so once we did that, next slide, please, there was an acceleration of permit work. January 5th was when it was signed by Joe Biden. On January 9th, we had a restart meeting, so 4 days later. And I'd been I met with the lead of the entire 408 permitting and really, jumped that and said, we need to get on this. This is taking too long. And he worked from bottom up and top down. And so we got this meeting right after that thing was signed. And on January 9th through August, most of the work was on TURFMA resubmitting just about everything that we already had submitted, plus new stuff, and giving them a new environmental assessment in July. So since that, in August, they really hadn't said much about all that material we gave from, say, April till July. So I called them again and I said, we got to get going on this. And I thought they really weren't listening, but since August, they have taken more action than they have in the previous 5 years combined. So from August to today, there's been more stuff accomplished. We are down to 2 comments and on the permitting of all these comments we had, there's only 2 uncleared comments in there. One of them is very minor. The other one's asking for something we can only do in the final design. And then there's the EA has now been reviewed by their legal team, which is usually their last step, by the way, before they go into final approval. And honestly, with the comments that are left and the review comments on the EA, there is no red flag or something. It's more like these are things we have to address and they're things we can address. So I don't see this red flag or problem that's going to happen. Whereas in the past, there could have been. And so at this point, we're kind of just going through this process now. And so one of the closeout comments was to create detailed specifications that can be further reviewed. But those are typically done right at the end in 90% design, 100% design. So we need to move forward with our design to even address that comment. And then for this and other reasons, TURFMA wants to get into the final design for Vista Narrows. The other one too is with GSR doing their work on the levee that they're planning in maybe in the next few years. We want to have Vista done before they do that so that there's a place for that water to go so it doesn't create problems. And we'll have to work on the other projects as well, but this is one of the projects and this one needs to be first. And so for that reason also, we want to move forward. Next slide, please. So GSR, I already mentioned that. Somebody asked me, well, are you talking with GSR? Yes, we are talking with GSR. We know what they're up to. We know what their most current plans are. They are building a basketball stadium and a parking structure. Both of those are outside the existing floodplain and the newly proposed floodplain. They plan to begin construction on a golf course in early 2026 that I think is mostly out of the floodplain, but there are parts of it that are in the floodplain. And then they plan future development, including housing for some of their workers, and as well as another tower perhaps. And that will be in the floodplain. That will be when they really need to work on this levee. And so we really want to get to that. We want to get Vista done and or at least be in progress before they're doing that work with the levee. So that's what's going on with GSR. And like I said, I have several contact points. I just talked to one of them like 3 or 4 days ago. So it was Monday no, it wasn't Tuesday, it was 4 days ago. So, I mean, we're in constant contact. Next slide, please. So the design components of this design that we're proposing to go to final design, I went to our incumbent contractor. They've been doing a good job. There's no reason to like go off our incumbent because that creates all kinds of inefficiencies. But there are things that they have to do to get to 100%. One of them is data collection. Another is all these different right-of-way issues. Coordination needs to be finalized. Some of the initial work has already been done. They need to get the specifications up, and that's one of the comments in the permitting documents. Drawings, they need to do drawings, bid support, geotechnical analysis. They did a lot of geotechnical analysis, but they need to do more because it's one thing to see if the project is viable and it can work. It's a whole nother thing to be directing a contractor about take this dirt over here and take that dirt over there, and that kind of thing. So they need more information. So there's going to be quite a bit of, information gathering in the geotech to get to that point. We also have a thing on value engineering. If you look back in 2018, when we started this thing, we had, we were going to build levees and a flood wall down there, and there was a lot of energy that went into that. And not as much energy about, okay, how do we really optimize these terrace build-outs, these floodplain restoration activities, such that we do it in the most cost-effective manner. There are little adjustments that can be made that can really save a lot of money. We're talking about 450,000 cubic yards. That's like thousands of dump trucks of material. So when you're thinking of that way, there's just a lot of things little things that can make big differences that are far more valuable than the money you'll spend on the value engineering. The second thing is we did not have that physical map revision model yet. We had a much more clunky model that wasn't as good. With that new model, we can do much better work on really optimizing things about how those different terraces will be configured to both lower the flow, but maybe do it with less cubic yards. So the value engineering is going to pay for itself, I think, probably order of magnitude or maybe even 2 orders of magnitude more than the cost. It's about $200,000. It'll easily save us $2 million, maybe more than that on the construction. And then evaluating changes in utilities. It's been 6 years since this thing was given the 65%. So it's been sitting there and things have changed. There's now a water utility down to Trick and a whole bunch of other things have changed. So they've got to catch all that up. Permitting support, there are things that they will do to help the permit people that are in subsequent talks after this one. They're much smaller contracts, but these guys have to support them. And then the general support and overhead and meeting coordination that you see with any consulting contract. So that's the components of it. I think what I'll do is I'll do the next slide, and then I'm going to stop for a second for questions. Next slide, please. So the final cost of this is, you heard in the titles, a little over 1.8 million. And the reason why it's so expensive is the geotechnical side of it. There is a lot more work that needs to be done. They need to do a lot of going out and doing test pits and that kind of activity, and then working up that data. There's a lot of work on easements that need to be finalized with the railroad. There's NDOT, and then there's also federal land involved. There's a long time period since the initial design, so we got to do a lot of catch up, especially with utilities. And then finally, the value engineering is a cost item, but it's well worth it. So those are that makes up about 40 to 50% of the budget, those 4 issues. And that is why it costs what it costs. Next slide, please, but also just stop for questions here for a second.
Does anyone, excuse me, does anyone have any questions?
Okay,
I think you're good to go, sir.
okay, so another thing that you do,
I guess, Ms.
okay.
Stewart, sorry.
You
My
know,
apologies.
you said that you're excavating all this material, right? That's to build the terraces, right?
It's to create the terraces.
Yeah.
The terrace, right now it's a cut bank and it's
Yeah.
way too high.
Right.
So we're laying it back.
Right. So my question is, what's your thinking on where we're going to put that material?
Well, we do have a design to put that material against a hillside. However, we've been talking with on these other projects about giving some of that material to other projects. Once again, we have to do some of the geotech to make sure if it's suitable for the other projects. But, you know, I don't want to get into details because I'm really not agendized to talk about other projects like that. But
I mean,
there
you
are
talking
other
about
people out there wanting it.
private or public, or what are you talking about?
I'm talking about stakeholders on our projects that are related to our projects.
And then
you
can
know.
it be used like could we store it on the Mill and McCarran property and potentially use it in our levees or?
That's possible, but right now, the Rock McCarran design actually balances the materials.
Oh, okay.
But if that changes as we get to 60%, that might be a possibility that
Okay.
we might need some of it.
All right. I was said it was so much material.
It is a lot. It's a tremendous amount of material because it's just, you know, like I said, a cut bank right on the river there. Any other questions about what the design work would entail?
You're good to go, sir.
Okay. So one of the questions, though, would be the cost of Vista Narrows Forward plus the cost of all the design projects over the next 2 to 3 years, including the design for Vista Narrows. And so we just want to make sure we're not going to run into some cash flow issue and have to go out for a loan sooner than later or something like that. So one of the things that I looked at was all these different projects, and these are things that we're looking at, like Lake Street area. There's a breakout there that it's a small breakout, but it's a mess. And we're actually studying that. I have a small contract with a local firm to look at that. We actually have the Tumwa levee and flood wall design part, airport terracing, and berm, another design. That's just the design part. Rock to McCarran, the rest of the design, the cost forward on the design. And then the levee and flood wall, McCarran to Vista along North Bank, that full design is $7.3 million. I don't think we're going to spend that in the next 2 to 3 years, but that is what the budgeted cost for design is on the flood wall, McCarran to Vista. Then the Vista Narrows, the full cost forward is $51 million. So you add all that up, plus costs on things like Riverside, et cetera, and you're up to about $72.5 million. So we do have one home elevation project still. We do have, Riverside, and we do have Wadsworth Bridge. All that put together, it's about $72.5 million cost forward in the next 2 to 3 years. Right now, we have actually about $71 million in our accounts Plus we're getting at least 8 million over the next 2 years that we can dedicate to capital projects. We actually get about 11 to 12 million, but we're trying to be conservative here. 86 million. So there's about a $13.5 million cushion there. So for the next 2 to 3 years, we are not anticipating having to go out for financing or anything like that. And we can do all of this with our existing funds. When we go to build one of these other ones like Rock to McCarran, that's when we're going to have to go out for a loan. Once we get to the place where we've done the design at Rock McCarran, we have a really good cost estimate on it, then we go, okay, this is time to actually go for a loan. So,
George, when do you anticipate that for Rock McCarran?
well, Rock McCarran, it's probably no sooner than 2028. I don't think we could get it done. I don't think we can get there in 2027. We got to do permitting, finish the design. And then I think in 27, you've got to start working on the loan. In 2027, you have to work on it. You don't need to take the loan out yet, but you have to have lead time on that loan of about at least 9 months. But we'd want more than that. So you would probably see us coming to you at the end of next year or early in 27 about starting the work on the loan. And we should have a very good cost estimate on Rock McCarran by then. Does that answer your question? Okay. Okay. Any other questions about that? Because this is really crucial to me. And this is one of the reasons why we do this strategic plan now, so that we're not caught, oops, So next slide, please.
One more
Sorry.
What is the estimated total going to be?
For everything?
For a complete project?
204.6 million. And I'll give you that in the next. Oh, I can, yeah. Well, the next talk 6 will be more specific.
204 million. So we, in essence, are looking at 120 million-ish.
Actually, it looks like right now, it's less than 100 million, slightly less. But, with inflation and everything else, I think it will get up there, 110 or 120. But I don't want to, I can't say that right now because.
I get it. I'm just,
yeah.
It's when people ask the question to me, how much is a project? I don't have
okay, the next,
it was
the
180 to 200
agenda
million.
item 6 will answer that question and probably put half of you to sleep at the same time. So, any other questions about that? Okay, next slide, please. So the key, and this was one of the questions you're asking, key flood project components scheduling. Vista Narrows it'll start, the final design will start like right after you approve this, and early in next year, they'll be into it. Hopefully have the contract out for construction late 2026 or 27. We should have the permitting done sometime next year, hopefully early next year, because we're really just going through steps now. It's like there doesn't seem to be any red flags or anything. And then we think that we could start in as early as late 2027 or probably 2028. And that's about the time where I think GSR will be starting the part of their project where they might want to build their levee. So we're kind of right on time with that. And then the Tumwa levee, you can see that it will probably be in that 2028 or later timeframe. Airport, same thing. Rock McCarran, probably 2028, because we still have to, there's still an in-holding that we have to get to. So there's a lot of work there still to where we can get to construction. And then finally, the levee and flood wall, McCarran to Vista, that will come after Rock McCarran. Because of Vista Narrows, you don't really have to jump on it because the conditions there are actually the same or better already. But we still want to fix that. And so I'm thinking that probably starts around 2030, under the schedule. And by the way, in the past, my schedules, they kept going out because of permitting. Now, I think what's happening is we're starting to get better idea about what the schedule will really be because our our key point, which is the permitting, is starting to get resolved. That's why I'm starting to have a lot more confidence in these kind of dates and things like that. And, you know, our critical path in the future will be getting loans and things like that rather than permits. And next slide, please. Okay, so just general questions I have. Danielle came up. She is helping with the permitting. She's the permitting kind of key person. She's running the permitting contracts. So if it's a permitting question, she can help on detailing more than I can. But general questions I can handle, or any kind of comments that you have about this.
Awesome. Any questions or comments? Yeah, Ms. Andriola.
I just wonder, Danielle, if you have anything that you'd like to add, given your deep, you know, commitment to this project. If there's anything that you want to project.
Oh, well, I've got a couple of items to discuss after this. You know, we have a really great incumbent team for Vista Narrows, and we're moving forward from 60% to 100%. So just for my own self, I'm excited about that, and I know George is as well. So we're looking forward to your review and hopeful approval of these contracts so that we can really get going. I think the permitting process has been encouraging lately, and George has a great strategy lined out under item 6 for our strategic plan. So yeah, things seem to be moving forward in a very positive way.
That's great. Well, thanks for being a team to clear that path.
Sure.
Sure seemed like it was in a standstill holding pattern with no light at the end of the tunnel. So it seems like it's full steam ahead. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? I don't see anything. I know we have to ask for public comment on this one. Do we have any public comment? Perfect. I don't see anyone.
If you can go back to the slide, I think there's one more slide, and that would be the motion. There isn't one more slide? Oh, yeah, there is.
Perfect.
That's a possible motion. It's just to approve to go to 100% with Atkins.
Oh, we're looking for a motion. Who wants to?
Mr. Chair, I'll
Yep.
move to approve the 11th Amendment to the Agreement for Professional Engineering Services with the TURFMA and Atkins Rails, Inc. of January 15th, 2018 to take the design level of Vista Narrows flood project element from 60% to 100% and prepare materials for construction contract bidding. Total cost of this amendment is $1,851,404, and it runs from November 14th, 2025 to April 15th, 2027. And I tried to follow your poetic lead.
You did great. Can we get a second? Second by Mr. Martinez. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Item 4, discussion and possible action to approve, that's the same, to approve a second agreement for professional environmental consulting services with Nancy Kang to provide services to assist in taking the design level of the Vista Narrows flood project elements from 60% to 100%. The maximum total contract amount is $162,932 over the term of 18 months. Ms. Henderson, again.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. That's pretty much the entire meat of my presentation. This item is for an agreement with Nancy Kang for continued environmental services. Again, we're taking the Vista Narrows project from 60% to 100% design. You've seen this sketch before. This is just, again, we're moving forward with this project rapidly now. We're focusing on floodplain terracing at the moment. And if we go to the next slide, thank you. This is just sort of an overview sketch of the project, a visualization of what it will look like when it's done. So it is a flood protection project. It's the key to the entire flood project in terms of functionality. But also it is an ecosystem restoration project. And you can see we're going to be creating these terraces and revegetating those surfaces with lots of native plants and creating habitat approximately 13 acres of riparian and wetland habitat in this area. So it's exciting. Next slide, please. All right, so in terms of the environmental work that's been completed under the 60% design, the team has completed a lot of baseline surveys, testing, sampling. This was all done to characterize the existing environmental conditions at the site. We've developed detailed plans for weed control, revegetation, materials management, and also dewatering of the river during construction. George mentioned one of the key, most important things that's been done so far is to prepare and submit the Section 408 and 404 permit application packages to the Corps of Engineers and also the Nevada Division of Water Resources. And to date, we have successfully obtained a U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service biological opinion, as well as an incidental take permit. And also the state of Nevada issued a Clean Water Act Section 401 water quality certification for the project. So we have been able to obtain some of the documents and permissions needed to move forward with construction. Next slide, please. So as we mentioned, we're going from 60% to 100%. I just want to point out that we have put together a really great team for the 60% design. You just approved the continuation of the contract with AtkinsRéalis. Nancy Kong worked under Red Horse, which was our contractor during the 60% design. We renewed that contract over several years. And in 2025, Red Horse decided that they no longer wanted to renew this contract for the work. And so Ms. Kong went out on her own as an independent contractor. We actually have her under contract right now to provide continued services because we didn't want a gap in services after the Red Horse contract expired in May. And so again, the contract, the agreement that we're bringing before you today is would continue those services with Nancy Kong and keep the continuity of the incumbent team going for maximum streamlining and efficiency. Under the proposed scope of services, the consultant would provide key environmental services that are needed to prepare the Vista Narrows for construction. That includes completing the environmental assessment documentation, focusing on wrapping up the permitting process with the Corps of Engineers, the 408 and the 404. We've made good progress on that lately. Also providing environmental support to the engineering consultant, which you've just approved AtkinsRéalis to do that work. Obtaining any other remaining permits and authorizations required by the agencies, and also preparing implementation details and schedules for environmental protection measures and also for the revegetation tasks that would be part of actual construction of the project and likely the bid documents. So again, the total cost is not to exceed $162,932, and the contract term is 18 months for this proposed agreement. Next slide, please. So with that, I would like to recommend that the Board of Directors approve this agreement with Nancy Kong for these professional environmental services that would be related to the Vista Narrows 100% design phase. Again, the fiscal impact is approximately $163,000, and that would be paid for using existing 1/8 sales tax funds. With that, I appreciate your time. I'm happy to answer any questions you have, and I've provided a possible motion for you to consider.
Thank you. Mr.
Yeah, I didn't see Ms. Kong's resume or anything in the board book. Could you just tell us a little bit about her background? Do you know?
Yeah, I mean, she's a great professional. We've had really great success with her. We worked with her. I've worked with her for many years throughout this process. She has, she's probably got 30 years plus experience working in the field, doing these permitting processes, lots of experience with NEPA, the National Environmental Protection Act, lots of experience working in Nevada and the Western United States.
Is her background mostly biology or?
Yes.
Okay,
Mhm.
all right. Great, thanks.
Sure.
Any other questions or comments? I don't see any, oh yeah, Mr. Martinez, sorry.
No worries. Thank you so much. I was a little slow on the draw there. In terms of the contract length, I was just curious why it isn't the same as the previously approved contract for 2 years and the 18 months. Just wondering why.
Oh, is
that-
it? the same?
They're
I-
both 18.
I think it is the same.
They're both the same. They're,
That's
it's the
the
same
one
year.
for 24, the one that we just approved.
The other one was for 18 months as well. It ends in April of
Oh,
27.
yes, you're right.
Yeah.
My math is off.
Yeah.
Thank you so
So
much.
she just said 18 months, we set a time date, so
Oh, I
it's the
see.
same
Gotcha.
18 months.
Sorry.
Yeah, I was thinking it was 24 months for some reason.
Oh,
I was just looking
gotcha.
at years
No
instead of
worries.
looking at that.
No
Thanks so much for the
worries.
clarification.
Perfect. Any other questions or comments? I don't see any. Do we have any public comment? Perfect. I don't see any either here. Then I'm looking for a motion. And thanks for putting these on the screen. That's quite nice.
Mr. Chair, I'll move to
Yep.
approve the proposed second agreement between the Truck River Flood Management Authority and Nancy Kong Consulting Environmental Specialist and authorize the executive director to sign the agreement.
Thank you. Can we get a second? A second by Ms. Andriola. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Awesome. Thanks, Ms. Henderson.
Thank you very much.
Item 5, discussion and possible action to approve a second agreement, professional environmental consulting services with COTS Environmental Consultants to provide services to assist in taking the design level of Vista Narrows flood project from 60% to 100%. The total contract amount is $45,105 over the term of 18 months. Ms. Henderson again.
Okay. Thank you so much. Again, following along with item number 3 and item number 4, we're bringing this item to you today for consideration. Couts Environmental Consultants is currently providing environmental consulting services and cultural resources expertise for the Vista Narrows. Again, they have also been involved. They were a subcontractor to Red Horse back in the day, and we worked with them very successfully. Following the expiration of that contract, we initiated a contract with Couts separately. So again, they've been providing continued services to us under the 60% design just to keep things moving. And I just wanted to give you some brief highlights on, what sorts of cultural resource issues and tasks are associated with the Vista Narrows project. Again, so far, we've been doing lots of baseline surveys and research to characterize the existing cultural resources and also historic sites that are in the area. They've been coordinating and consulting with tribal groups to better understand tribal perspectives on cultural resources in the area. And that includes the Court of Antiquity, which is a very important site to several tribes in the area, as Clara Andriola knows very well. They have also been working to prepare and help submit the permit package application to the Corps of Engineers. And they have been and will in the future be providing Section 4F cultural resource support to the Nevada Department of Transportation and also Federal Highways. This is for the I-80 widening project, which is an adjacent project to Vista Narrows. And so they're all sort of tied together in terms of environmental permitting processes and making sure that the projects don't conflict with each other. So they'll be working on that, hopefully, and then also preparing a memorandum of understanding and a treatment plan for one resource in the area. It's an historic homestead. It will be affected by Vista Narrows implementation, and so we're putting together this treatment plan on how to deal with it. Next slide, please. So again, we just wanted to present to you a full picture of the incumbent team and all of the work that's going to be done, moving Vista Narrows from 60% to 100% design. We recognize that the total cost of this contract falls within George's authority to approve, but just wanted to give you a full picture of the team. Under the proposed scope of services, Couts Environmental would be providing professional services and again, cultural resources support that's needed to prepare the project for construction. This includes completing the baseline reporting. All of those reports, the surveys, the information goes into the cultural resources report, which is part of the environmental assessment, which is going to the Corps and is part of the NEPA process and the 408, 404 permit process, so it's important. They're also working to make sure we comply with Section 106 of the National Historic Preservation Act. There are a few properties that need to be surveyed for cultural resources that were not previously surveyed as part of the work done in the 60% design. So again, as we firm up all the details of the project, we'll be doing that. COUTS would be providing professional cultural resources support to Nancy Kong and also to Atkins Realis under the contracts that you just approved, rather. And they would also be providing assistance with any other remaining permits and authorizations needed. The total cost is about $45,000, and again, that contract term is 18 months, starting from the date of execution. And with that, next slide, please. Staff is recommending that the Board of Directors approve the proposed agreement with COUTS Environmental Consultants for professional, environmental, and cultural resource consulting services related to the Vista Narrows 100% design phase. Again, fiscal impact would be about $45,000, and that would be paid for using our existing revenues. Again, I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. I appreciate your time, and I've put up a motion for you to consider.
Thank you. Ms. Dewar.
Yeah, thank you. Great report, Danielle. I was wondering, what kind of cultural resources are we talking about? For example, it was my understanding on this side of the river, the wagon trains came through. Is there any evidence of that at this point, at the 60%?
The trails are tricky to document, I think, because they were trying to find just the best path through all of.
So there's not like one trail, maybe?
Not to my knowledge. The things that COUTS has been focused on are more like the coordination with the tribes. And also on that historic homestead and privy that we're actually going to impact. Most of the cultural resources in the area, the Vista Narrows project is actually avoiding, which is a good thing. So we do have to mitigate the impact of that homestead. I will say that Nancy Kong recently sent out letters to various historic trails associations to that, asking that question about the Vista Narrows project and opening a dialogue for coordination. So far, we haven't received any responses yet. But we'll be in touch with those folks.
We should press, obviously, like not just take no answer is a good answer, obviously.
Yeah.
Because over the years, I mean, many decades, I've heard that this was one of the main passes through.
Yep.
And I thought it was on this side, may have been on the other side, maybe both sides of the river. And I thought there were trail markers there somewhere in that area for these trails. The other question I had is, so does the homestead have a name, like a family name or?
You know, not to my knowledge. I can find that out for you.
Okay, and then on the Native American side, what kind of things are we talking about? Are we talking about arrowheads? Are we talking about, like, this might have been a special site for cultural events? I mean, do you know yet, or?
A lot of that information is confidential. For good reason. So our consultant works directly with the tribes and with the regulatory agencies, Nevada State Historic Preservation Office and the tribal preservation offices, to go through that information and address it in the cultural resources report. So unfortunately, I'm not privy to some of that information. The main thing that we've been talking about so far has to do with the Court of Antiquity, which is a very, very important site for several different tribes in this area, including the Washoe tribe of Nevada and California, the Pyramid Lake Paiute Tribe, and also the Reno Sparks Indian Colony,
Okay.
which is made up of several different tribes.
Right.
So all of those folks have been involved in conversations about that specific location and resource.
Very good.
And that will be documented in the cultural resources
Okay.
report. The other issue that it's a request that's been raised by some of the tribes to the Corps of Engineers, and that is regarding designating the Truckee River or parts of the Truckee River or sites like the Court of Antiquity as traditional cultural places, TCP. So that's something that the Corps has to address as part of their coordination process, but some of that may also be documented as well. And that just has to do with the fact that the river itself and these areas along the river are extremely important to the tribes, sacred to them. And it was, the whole river, starting from the headwaters all the way down,
I see.
for settlements and for, food, water, shelter, all of those things.
All right.
So yeah, those are some of the highlights of the work that's being done.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
On the homestead, it's not the one that's near Tum Wharf, right? There's like a little fence around it.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so one further down. Gotcha.
Yeah. Because that one's protected with the
Yeah,
fence.
there's a fence around it, and it's Immigrant Trail is the trail that
Yeah.
you're mentioning.
Yes.
Right.
There's a marker and all
Right.
right there.
Well, that's
Yeah.
what I thought, that there was a marker.
There is, and
Yeah.
like, not to take us down too much of a history conversation, but there's definitely on both sides. You have Stone Gates
Yeah.
Crossing where McCarran is, where people were coming on
What
the
did you call it?
Stone Gates Crossing.
Yeah,
Which is roughly
Getting
where
started
Mill and
on history.
McCarran,
We'll keep
I
going.
won't, but there was stuff on both sides,
We're not
but
agendized.
my apologies, my apologies.
oh, we absolutely are agendized for this, actually, but, okay, so that's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
So maybe the Immigrant Trail, for example, is more generalized,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not specific to know where, in terms of our project, it might impact that.
We are hoping not to
Okay.
impact that. Yeah, and Dave Holliker used to come to our working group meetings way back in the day. I haven't seen him in a while. But, we have had conversations and working relationships with some of those folks from the trail associations. So again, we sent out the letters.
Okay.
If we don't hear back, obviously we'll be following up.
Yeah.
And we could even have some special meetings with those folks.
Okay, really good.
Any other, yeah, Miss Andriola?
Thank you for the presentation, and then I will be eagerly watching on the Court of Antiquity because I know that you were part of a lot of the working groups that were in place. And so I know it's essentially kind of a little outside of the scope of what we were doing in terms of looking at preservation of those sacred sites, but not really. So I'm eager to hopefully, when information reveals itself, not only for the Court of Antiquity, but any other interest, that you can at least share what that status is, because it is going to go through a process, and I'm going to do everything I can to send positive energy that we can preserve that for generations. So thank you so much for pointing that out, and thanks for all your hard work.
Well, thank you for your hard work. I mean, you were instrumental in putting those meetings together, so I appreciate it and was happy.
I tried, and so we won't go on, because then the mayor will be also saying that I'm gonna go on about the Court of Antiquity, which I can go on about the Court of Antiquity, but I am gonna choose not to. So, but it is of interest, and I don't think even a lot of folks really understand what is right there, our fingertips, and hopefully could benefit those to also appreciate the historical petroglyphs that are there and have been documented.
Mhm.
So I'll be eager to be hearing it. So thank you. And if there's anything I can do to help, just in the capacity that you knew that I was trying, I'm happy to do so. If you
Awesome, thank you. Anyone else, any other questions, comments? Do we have any public comment on this? Perfect. Oh. Checking the Zoom. Nope. Understood. Then we'll close public comment on item 5 and looking for a motion.
I'll move to approve the proposed second amendment between the Truckee River Flood Management Authority and COUTS. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right.
That's correct.
Okay, good. Environmental Consultants, Inc., and authorize the executive director to sign that agreement.
Awesome, thank you. We have a motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Stewart. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Item 6, update on the TURFMA strategic plan for the Truckee Meadows Flood Project and discussion of preparing solicitations for statements of qualifications for up to 60% design for the Tumwell Levee and Flood Wall Project, the Airport Flood Berm Protection Project, and the Sparks North Bank Levee Feasibility and Alternative Study. Mr. Robeson.
Thank you. And this is where Mayor Lawson gets his double dose of how much it's going to cost. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is the third version of the strategic plan, and I just started doing this about this time in 2023, so not a little over a year. Or actually, well, anyways, the point is, it's not very long. And the reason why, what it is, it's a blueprint for timing, components and funding of the overall flood project. And when I say flood project, I mean the Truckee Meadows Flood Project, which extends from the freeway down to the Vista area. And it does include, it does have to interface with other projects. It has to interface with what's going on up in Reno. It has to interface what's going on downstream with the mitigation agreement and all that. But it's focused on the flood project because the vast bulk of money that we will be spending over the next 10 years will be on this flood project. It shows the agency goals over a longer budgeting horizon, including potential sources of income and upcoming expenses. Why do we have it? We need that big picture to be able to see everything and how they relate to each other. And it allows us to plan forward and evaluate the sustainability of the project for the long run so that we're making sure whatever we do, we can actually do it. And a lot of it is conservative because we don't want to like say, well, if we get this grant, and then we don't get the grant, and then what? So we want to make this a sustainable thing, something that we are, it's bulletproof to some degree. Next slide, please. So it is, this is Marty's doing, a roadmap to success. I feel like I'm in a Hallmark movie. There have been many changes to flood project designs over the years. The strategic plan catalogs all the flood project design updates in one place, including the project timeline, the project impact, and the downstream mitigation. That particular segment is not in there yet, but it's planned to be in there. Using the plan, TURFMA can more effectively adapt to changing situations and identify areas for focus. And really going through this plan and what's been going on at GSR and what's been happening with the permit shows us we need to accelerate the design of some of the key design projects around the Rock McCarran, upstream of Rock McCarran, because of what's going on at GSR and because we're getting close with the permit. Next slide, please. So the strategic plan does have the description of the plan. It has the cost of the plan. It has the rationale, which is the cost-benefit ratio, why we're doing this. Like we need to know that this is actually worth doing. And so we do have that calculation, although it is kind of extended from other past calculations with assumptions. We also will want to talk about the effects of it, plus and minus and mitigation. That section is not in there, but we have done a lot of work on that, including all the work with the tribe, all the work in our environmental assessment for Vista Narrows, et cetera. And it also has the timeline. Next slide, please. So this is the overall Meadows project. This slide will probably give you what's the overview of it. $204.6 million is the current cost estimate, cost forward for the entire flood project. And that's everything on the screen except for the parts that have already been done. For instance, the area with the Reno Sparks Indian Colony, that's already been done. So those aren't included anymore in the cost, but it includes every project. And we also know that we have about $71 million saved. And we have a cash flow of about 10 to 12 million per year. And of that, about 8 million can be spent annually on mitigation projects. So those are the overview big numbers. Next slide, please. So why build it? I mean, everybody on this board knows this, but there are some people on Zoom that might not. But it's really these two graphs. One in blue shows everything flooded during a 100-year event. This isn't even the 1997 event, it's somewhat smaller than that. Then when you pull the Meadows project in, look at all the green. All that area is no longer flooded. And that's where there's a lot of buildings. The entire East Sparks industrial area is now protected. The Reno industrial area to the south of the river near the airport is protected. And that includes a lot of key infrastructure buildings, county buildings. There's churches in there. There are power companies in there. There's just a lot of important things in that South Reno industrial area. It's kind of underrated for what it provides to our area. Then the airport itself and GSR as well, which is a big tax generator for Reno and the area. Next slide, please. So when we do kind of a quick extension of past plans, we find that, and the annual benefit number is actually higher for the Meadows Flood Project because we just said it was what it is with the NED, the National Economic Development Project of the Corps, which this analysis was based on. But it's actually 3 feet higher. The levees are 3 feet higher than what was proposed in the NED with the levees and flood walls. And so that means that there's more of an annual benefit. And that means there's more of a net annual benefit than what I'm showing there. But even with this conservative number, it's 1.57. And that is for first cost, not for cost forward. So if you make it cost forward, which is less than first cost, and then you also add the fact that it's providing more protection. This, if you do those calculations, I've done them. I didn't really feel good about like laying them out though. They're over 3. The cost benefit of this is 3. And for a infrastructure project, that's incredibly high. That's a really nice CB ratio. Next slide, please. This is more detailing from the past when we did work. This is based on work that the Corps did back in 2013 on the NED, and then I extended it to New Meadows, or the Meadows, the Truckee River, or the Truckee Meadows Flood Project. And you can see that it's better. Next slide, please. So the projected costs, this is where it all breaks down. It includes things like Lake Street, because I don't know how much that's all going to cost. But I just put, I'm just putting 2 million on it right now. We're just doing the initial study now. The Vista Narrows cost forward 51 million. Rock McCarran cost forward 77 million. GSR Berman Levee cost forward up to $1 million in helping them. We might provide dirt to them, and things like that, because we have all this dirt from Vista, but that actually might reduce our costs on Vista. So it may not be really a net cost at all. The Tumwa Levee, 11.7 million. And it also has a flood wall. Airport Terrace and Berm, 6.6 million. Sparks North Levee, the total cost of 55.3 million right now. We'll need to do more study on that. That's a long feature. But it's not like Rock McCarran where you have levees on both sides and a park and everything else. So the total cost right here is $204.6 million dollars. Next slide. So there is costs of what I call targeted projects that really aren't part of that particular Meadows plan or Meadows project. And the home elevation, we do have one more of those. I'm just elevating the cost to $400,000, being conservative. UNR Farms, we have a small levee that we may want to put on there. We'll have to look at the plans carefully, but just so we don't elevate water prematurely and make sure it gets into that flood pool there on the UNR farms. That could cost up to $900,000. Virginia Street, North Turkey Drain have already been paid for. Booth to Arlington, $4 million. That may come in lighter than that. The one came in lighter, and I think the other one, even if it comes in a little heavy, would probably be still under 4 million. That's the Riverside area. Wadsworth Mitigation Bridge, about $2 million cost forward, as we've already put some money down on the bridge and on the construction, as well as a lot of the design costs are already paid for. And then there's a thing about Rainbow Bend where we're looking at putting in a small berm is mitigation. And that one was estimated at $825,000. It was lower, but we put inflation on it to get that up. And that's a little over $8 million of other projects. So you can see both of them together. Next slide, please. And this is a cash flow projection of everything. This is not the CIP because it actually goes beyond the CIP. It's the rest of this year, and it goes all the way into 2030, actually into the end of 31. So you can see here that when you put it all together, that's the cost of the project and these other ones that are $8 million. We're coming out at minus 98 million and change. That's the key right there. If we pay off our loan, it might be a little bit less. We do have an option to pay off one of the loans for the EOC, so that might actually help us, but I don't know. That's up to the county to do. We don't have any control over that. But anyways, that would be 96 million instead of 98 million. But likewise, it's just a little under 100 million for everything is where we would be at on negative cash flow. And we don't come into negative cash flow until 28, 29, when at that point, we'd probably have to do a $50 million loan. And then you might have to do another 30 and then another whatever to get to the rest, 20, 30, if there's a little bit of inflation. So it might be like 3 loans, so you're stacking them, especially if we're doing bonding. If we're doing a major loan program, we might be able to do it all at once. But anyways, the point is that's the amount. Now go to the next slide. And you can see right now the interest rates, depending on what program you're talking about or what kind of situation or what kind of a government we are, can vary from about 4 to 5%. The core loan program would probably be about 4. The bonding could be 4.5 to 5, depending on how it's bundled. But anyways, the point is we can't afford this. We need about 8. We can put $8 million a year into it to pay off the loan. If you do it at 20 year, you can't do it at say 120 million, but you can do it on a 30 year. If the cost is only 100 million, you could do it on a 20 year at 4.5%. So the point is we do have enough money all the way up to 120 million or enough cash flow to pay a loan of that nature is the point. And I tried to simplify this and make it as easy as possible to not get into the weeds here. But we can go into the weeds at some other date, but that, it's just to ensure that we have the ability, it's kind of like, can we do this or not? And it appears that we can. Next slide, please. So what I'm asking today is to keep this schedule rolling, and the fact that we do have the permit in a pretty good place now, and the fact that GSR is doing a lot of work now, is we want to start accelerating projects like the Tumwa levee and flood wall, which is across from GSR. We have talked to that stakeholder. We've been out on the ground with them a couple of times, no more than that, 3 or 4 times now. Airport berm, I've given talks to their governing boards. I've been out on the ground with them. North Bank levee, really, there's a lot of different people involved, but I have talked to people that have property along there and what we're thinking about doing. And those are the 3 major projects that need to get started so that we can do them in a timely manner. And we want to accelerate this, get it done before we're looking at a picture like that again. You know, we want to get it done before the next flood. Next slide, please. So the ones that we're talking about, it's the Tumwa levee is right across from the GSR. And the airport levee is right there in blue, dark blue there north of the airport runway, the north runway. Then you see Rock McCarran in green, which we're already working on. And then in red, you can see this, it's a long feature, but it's only on one side and it's a levee. That's the Sparks North Bank levee. And we need to do some more work on this to figure out what is the best way of doing this. Should we break it up? I mean, it's such a long feature. Maybe there's an area that's more critical that might fail at 75-year or 50-year. Maybe we do that part first. You know, those kind of things we haven't really explored yet. So we want to do that in that feasibility study and alternative study. You know, another thing is if it's all these buildings are very close, maybe we go south instead of north. That's another possibility when we're talking about alternatives. So those are some things that we're looking at with those three projects. All we're asking for today is the authorization to go forward with statements of qualifications, a request for those. And then we would come back to you later with whoever we think won. And now what we would do is set up teams of people to evaluate those that consist of stakeholders. Like for instance, on Tumwa levee, I've already talked to them about being on our evaluation team for whoever we pick. Talk to the airport the same way. And on Sparks, I've talked to your staff, Mayor Lawson and Donald Abbott, Chair, about, you know, being a part of that, definitely, because that's going to affect the Sparks area the most. So all of these teams, you want to have stakeholders involved and you want to have others involved, like the county, city of Reno for sure, especially on some of these, it's in city of Reno, and perhaps state people, tribal people. These were on some of the evaluation teams for Rock McCarran. We anticipate the same thing going forward. We would pick the best statement of qualification, then we would negotiate with that one. So we would probably at that point say we have found that, you know, found the best bidder. Here's what they're coming up with for a contract. What do you guys think? So we come back with whoever that bidder would be sometime next year. I don't think these would get out until after the new year. Thinking the first or second week of January, they get put out. Let them sit out for a month to 6 weeks. Then we evaluate them, then we pick a winner and go through the process. So that's what we're looking at going forward. Next slide, please. So we've already been through this one, but I have to comment that Marty did a really nice job on this slide, making it kind of cool looking. But we already talked about what GSR is up to. Next slide, please. And this is another important thing, is can we do this without having a problem with financing over the next 2 to 3 years? And the answer, I think I showed this slide on the other one for Vista Narrows, is yes. We got $66.5 million for all these projects, another $6 million for the targeted projects. That's compared to $86 million we'll have available to spend on this. So we do have about $13.5 million kind of, comfort zone, if you will. But so we can afford this. Next slide, please. And this is just another one on the scheduling. I actually showed this before. I think I want to review this again, but the point is, all of this we'd like to get done before 2032. And what's funny about that, before I was director, I sat on the needs committee, and I remember that's where I met Naomi. But on that needs committee, they were talking about 2032 on that. And that was several years ago. I'm talking about the same date, but we're way up closer now. And so I think this is doable as long as we can get those loans and get the permits. And the recent work on the permits is very, very encouraging. And I think the loan stuff, from talking to different people, is a doable matter. So I think this is doable. And I really want to proceed with this and get us rolling on this to get some momentum and get this thing done before the next flood. Hopefully that will occur in 2033 or later. So next slide, please. So I'll leave this up for questions.
Anyone have anything? Ms. Dewar?
Just a quick question. If you could go back a couple slides to the one where you had the design laid out. That one. So is the red, is that the 55 million when you said the Sparks?
Yeah, that is the Sparks North Bank levy cost forward.
So it's on the North Bank, and I think I asked this before. Do we have to do anything on the South Bank where UNR is?
No, because honestly, what we're doing on the South Bank is we're doing Vista Narrows. So it floods no worse than it already did, and it's slightly lower because there isn't very much out there. It's an agricultural, undeveloped area.
Yeah.
And even the new warehouses, et cetera, when they went to build them, they asked me, well, what should my base elevation be so we don't flood? So they're not really, even those new warehouses, they're not going to flood from a 100-year flood.
Okay.
So
And then
no.
What about, in that section on the south side, isn't the UNR Wolfpack meats there or something still?
Yeah, that would be protected. You saw that $900,000 item for a levy, that it would extend our levy from Rock McCarran down a bit. That actually protects that from flooding.
I wasn't as familiar with that part, what we were planning.
Yeah, there it is.
That one, the
Yeah.
UNR.
Yeah, and we have not, we've done a little bit of work with the model on that, but we really haven't gotten very far on what we would need to do there.
Yeah.
It's not very high. It's like 2 to 3 feet tall.
Yeah. And what are we thinking about with the Rainbow Bend mitigation berm? Are we still thinking about doing that, or?
Yeah, I've been talking with Story County about that for a long time.
Right.
I've even given a presentation to the Rainbow Bend people and the improvement committee and everybody else. So they even invited me to their Christmas party this year.
Nice.
So no, I mean, we're working together and on that. And one of the problems with Rainbow Bend is that creek, the Long Valley Creek.
Right.
It is very dangerous. So I asked permission of this board a while back. Can I just help them out so that they get some idea about how to deal with that creek? And I did. They actually got a FEMA grant out of that, and they actually used my salary as their cost share.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, we've been working together with them, and, the Rainbow Bend mitigation is mostly it's a small berm or maybe a small flood wall in places, but it's to keep the water off the road so it's not a nuisance. It's not really getting into the homes, but it will get on the roads and cause problems, and people will wonder if they can drive down their road and stuff like that. During a Truckee River flood, a Long Valley flood, like a flash flood, that can do a lot more damage in Rainbow Bend. But that's not our jurisdiction either.
Awesome. Any other questions or comments? George? Don't see any. No public comment. Perfect.
Next slide, please. So we're making it easy on you guys.
I love it.
If you want to, if you agree that we should push ahead, this is the motion to authorize us to do those requests for qualifications.
Does anyone want to make a motion on the screen? Go for it, Mr. Martinez.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. I move to authorize Truckee River Flood Management Authority staff to develop and advertise requests for qualifications, as well as evaluate consulting teams and negotiate a contract with the winning team for the 30% and 60% designs for the Tumwa levee and flood wall, 30 and 60% design for the airport flood protection berm and for the Sparks North Bank levee feasibility and alternative study.
Awesome, thank you. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Andriola. We have a motion and a second. Please vote. All in favor, say aye. Sorry, wrong. That's, any opposed? Anyone opposed? Passes unanimously. Item 7, public comment. Any last final public comment, anything? Perfect. We'll close that. Item 8, board member comments, requests. Board member comments, requests, and future agenda item. Anyone have anything? Yeah, Ms. Andriola.
Thank you. I really appreciate all of the hard work on all the presentations, and I'm just wondering if it's possible when we get the board packet, if the presentations can be included. I think it would be helpful if that is possible.
Understood. Oh, I'll let George maybe get back to you later, or we probably can't discuss that, can we, right here? No. Yeah, so.
I'll talk to her offline about that.
Sounds good. Does anyone have anything else?
I have a follow-up.
Yes.
May I have the presentations emailed to me, please? Thank you. Is that okay, Mr. Wills? Thank you.
Perfect. I don't see anyone else. We will adjourn today at 10:25 a.m. Have a great weekend.